All right, welcome back to Flux Motorsport TV. I'm your host, Carlin Hicks, for our second race of tonight's round 4 of the 5th season Flux Motorsport Sports Car Championships. It's the LMP2s here at the Brickyard, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the 2.49 mile, 13 turn road course. Put on a great show. Just wrapped up a little over 40 minutes ago in the GTE class. Just Piddlin, who is also in this race, picked up his first career Flux Sports Car Championship race win earlier, and we'll see if he can make it his second as he comes in the points leader. But we're going to run all that down for you. As always, a 20-minute qualifying session to be followed by a 45-minute feature race. Pretty small number of entries here in the field tonight. We're looking to possibly see some late comers pop in, but at the moment, 8 cars taking the start, though we should possibly see a few more here before qualifying wraps up. All right, so let's hope my mic volume hangs out. I got the backup here ready just in case. But I'm going to get us started here as they're rolling out to begin qualifying here at the Brickyard, round 4 of 8 in the Season 5 Flux Motorsport Sports Car Championship. It's been a great season, both in the LMP2s and the GTEs, and it's been a great weekend here at Indianapolis. Last night we had the Indy cars on the famed Speedway. We saw HHBC pick up his first career IndyCar win on the challenging high-speed oval. And now we are here to see the sports cars, the GTEs, and now the LMP2s. You're looking at the number 69 car of Just Piddlin. Got his first career win, as I said, just earlier this evening in the GTE class, and he's going to be looking to repeat here, and even more so because he has the overall points lead in the LMP2 class coming in. 86 points for the first 3 rounds gives him a 15-point advantage. Not insurmountable, but a decent size advantage, especially with a smaller field. He should be able to come out of here in pretty good shape. Now, these LMP2 cars, not factory supported the way the P1s are. They are a chassis and engine combination, and the vast majority of this field uses Ligier chassis with Nissan power. There's a couple that might try the Honda or the Judd, but the Ligier Nissan combination pretty much makes this a spec series, but it makes for very close, very tight racing in these custom-built sports car Le Mans prototypes. Just Piddlin's season so far that has got him to that points lead looking as follows. He was second place in the season opener at Daytona. Followed that up with a 4th place run in the tough desert track out at Willow Springs, and was able to follow that up in round 3 with another 2nd place run at Long Beach a week ago. So 2 podium finishes, 3 top 5s to start the season is what has given him the points lead. He's still looking for his first win of the season, but he has been very, very consistent, and with 2 2nd place runs, that has him holding out in the lead at the moment. All right, 2nd place in the points. Another Ligier Nissan should go without saying for the most part here tonight. The Australian veteran Muttley just saw many of these guys earlier in the GTE race pulling double duty. Muttley, the longtime veteran, sitting on 71 points. His runs so far this season: managed a 5th place run at Daytona to kick off the season. He followed that up with another 5th place run at Willow Springs, and then had his best run of 4th. So 3 straight top 5s for Muttley has him 2nd in the points. He's looking to get up onto the podium, and I think moving up beyond that 4th, 5th place spot will be what the longtime veteran is looking to do here. He is tied for 2nd with Mark Webber at 71 points as well. All right, anyhow, let me get to Mark here. Mark Webber, the new addition to Flux Motorsport this season in Season 5. Coming in here 15 points back, tied with Muttley for second. But his season includes a very big performance at Daytona. Webber got his first career win in the Flux Sports Car Championships in the season opener at Daytona, and then followed up a big weekend at Willow with his second straight win at Willow Springs. So he was putting on pretty dominant performances early in the season. Won from the pole at Daytona and from second at Willow Springs, but last week was unable to make the trip. But was unable to make the trip to Long Beach was Mark Webber last week for that race. So he's coming back in here hungry, 15 points down after missing around. But as I said, picked up his first 2 career wins in the Flux Sports Car Championships in rounds 1 and 2. And we're going to be looking to see if he can put it together here at the Brickyard as he makes the trip, returns here stateside to race in the series. Right now, still looking to put in a fast time. 4th place in the points is Green Game, and Green Game, unfortunately, still looking to put together sponsorship money to get back to the track. That brings us to 5th place in the championship, and that is Ty Joe in the all-black Ligier. Comes in 5th. He's 31 points off the lead. Ty Joe's season so far has been a little touch and go. Just a 10th place run at Daytona, as he had some trouble there. Came up with a 6th at Willow Springs, and then finally moved it back up into the top 5 with a 5th place run last week at Long Beach. But the GTE driver and the former, matter of fact, the reigning Flux IndyCar champion from last season, looking to get himself up to speed here with these LMP2s. The driver from the Philippines, very quick, and 3-time winner in Flux Sports Cars in the GTE class. So this guy's going to be looking to make it. Right now, currently 3rd on the speed chart. We'll see where he can end up. 6th in the points is OGR Cat Guy. We just saw him drive to a 4th place run in the GTEs here earlier. And as I said, this guy knows this track very well. And for Cat Guy, it's been an interesting season. He ran 4th place at Daytona to kick off the season, and then did not make the round at Willow Springs, but came out to Long Beach and really didn't expect much coming into the race, but wound up driving through some of the carnage and ended up on the podium with a 3rd place finish. Those 2 finishes have got him up to 6th in points. He's 34 off the leaders. There's 35 to the race winner. So with this just being round 4 of 8, he has plenty of time to make up ground here in this championship. And we'll see if he can put something together here at the Brickyard this week. 7th in the championship is Survivor, who's one of our guys not making the trip. But 8th in the championship right there in his number 16 prototype is Cracked Piston from down, I want to say he's an Australian driver. I believe so. 49 points back in 8th place. So far this season, Cracked Piston has run a 6th place at Daytona. He did not race at Willow Springs, and he was 7th last week at Long Beach. So looking to put something together here for him. Mainly it's been staying out of damage. He has shown, the driver who's shown plenty of pace in club level racing and sprint racing, but putting it together in an endurance format has been problematic for him so far. But we'll see if he's got something. These guys still early in qualifying, still more than 10 minutes to go, and I can bet you not putting anything down. You can see the marbles on the track from the earlier GTE race right there, formed up already. You're just going to see more and more of that as the day goes on, and can make this track very treacherous here at the world-famous Indianapolis Motor Speedway. 9th in the points is McToasty. He's currently on the top of the board, just won the pole in the GTEs earlier, And McToasty, 9th in points, but it's because he's been a part-time driver, and we're going to have a story with him. He did not run in the first 2 rounds and then came out last week to Long Beach and drove that car through the field for his first career Flux Sports Car Championship win. First career win in the Flux Sports Cars last week at Long Beach. He'll be looking to duplicate that performance this week, and right now he's currently at the top of the charts, although Mark Webber just put up a lap just barely off of him. These guys down in the 115s here. These Ligier Nissans, high performance prototype cars, and we're going to see just some great sports car racing here at the world famous Brickyard. Take a look at who else we got in the field. Mark C not making the start. Dirt Rally is in the field in another Ligier. 11th in the points. That's based off of, I believe, just one finish. And that one finish was in the season opener at Daytona, where Dirt Rally managed to get on the podium with a 3rd place finish. He has not raced the last 2 rounds, now back in it, but with a lot of drivers not starting this week, he can really make up some ground if he can put together a good performance here in this prototype. So we'll have to see what Dirt Rally can do. He had some speed earlier in the GTE race, totally different cars, but it's going to be a matter of, like I said, tacking that all together. And that should cover our 8 cars in the field right now. We'll see if anybody can put something up on McToasty in the Store Pill number 2 car. And this is a guy who very smooth, very consistent, keeps his cool in a head-to-head duel, and that is definitely a plus, especially on a track like this here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. That's very difficult to pass on. And he puts up extends his lead here over Mark Webber just slightly. But those two, the 2 drivers who've won this season, and this ought to be a good one. I mean, this ought to be a good one really here today. McToasty got that win. The fact is, those are the 2 drivers who have won this season. Mark Webber in the first 2 rounds at Daytona and Willow Springs, and McToasty last week at Long Beach, but they have not faced each other head-to-head on the track yet this season. So that's going to be interesting. And right now, they're 1-2 on the time chart. Mark Webber in the green and black Ligier, looking to pull some speed together, the number 44 car. And the Australian driver has come in and shown excellent pace right off the start. He won at Willow Springs in the Indy cars as well. So this is definitely a top-of-the-line road racing specialist, and he's come in here in these LMP2s looking like Jeff Brabham. But after missing Long Beach last week, he's got some ground to make up. We'll see what he's got as he comes around. We got somebody on a hot lap I would love to give a track walk, and given that Mark has 2 wins, he might be our guy. Let's get in the cockpit. He's weaving around, though. I don't think this is a hot lap, but let's take it with him as he goes down into turn 1, hard on the brakes, back to the right. You're going to downshift down into 2nd gear, probably somewhere around that. As it looks like just Piddlin just got into the 115s and moved up into 2nd. That's going to be vitally important, because this is going to be, as the GTE race was earlier, a single file start. And with a single file start, track position is going to be vitally important. Looks like he's rolling off, getting out of the way. We're going to get back to that. And here comes Dirt Rally with a lap as we're getting later into qualifying. A little more rubber laid on the track. Still the same cool track from the GTE race earlier, but Dirt Rally puts up a 1:15.7. He goes around, but McToasty extended it even more. He's now down to a 1:15.3. And these guys are going to be hitting the pit lanes, making some adjustments to go for a little more speed. McToasty just completed another one. Mark Webber, meanwhile, back to 4th. Let's see what he's got coming around this time. Didn't better the lap yet, but he's going to get up to pace here and probably make a run at it. Taijo About a second back. Qualifying trim can be very different in these from race trim. Cat Guy, Cracked Piston, and Muttley more than 2.5 seconds off the pace here in qualifying. I'm definitely thinking they're having some trouble getting the grips. Like as we said earlier, those of you that watched the GTE race here on Flux TV earlier tonight will recall that we spoke about this track, the transitions here, any type of hybrid track where you're using an alternate layout or whatnot, you're going to have these spots. And this track being particularly flat, has the long straightaways, has a little bit of banking. These cars with high downforce, they put a lot of stress on the tires. We use the high tire wear, softer compound here in Flux Motorsport for the sports cars, and that is going to create a situation where I don't know if these guys can make it all the way on the tires. I think most guys are going to try to do. You don't want to waste the time on the pitch. You're going to try to keep the tires under you, but you just don't know what kind of strategies we'll see and how tough this place will be on the tires. As I said in the broadcast earlier, see the 2005 United States Grand Prix, Formula One Grand Prix, and you'll know what I'm talking about. If the tire manufacturer is not prepared for this place, it can put some load on the tires. And as just for the drivers, with or without that, you see the flatness of the turns. There's a lot of marbles. You can catch them right there coming out of the corner, see them up in the high grooves. A lot of marbles from worn tires here that's going to become even more accelerated as the race goes on. But we're going to have to wait and see how that plays out. Those of you who just watched any of the Flux races, but the Flux GTE race earlier here in the Flux Sports Car Championships, know that these guys are it's a very tight contest, very difficult to pass. Qualifying is going to be very important, and right now, guys are reaching back. McToastie's back in the pit lane. Here's Dirt Rally, put up that second fastest time in the 35 car. Another Australian driver, I believe, and he has just been quick. All these fastest guys down in the 115s. Looking to have a little bit of pace on the back half of what's a small field. We have normally about 14 full-time drivers in the series, but a lot of DNSs did not start this week here at the Brickyard, not making the trip to Indianapolis. Just piddling the number 69 Fanatec car. As we said, he's beaming from the victory earlier tonight in the GTEs, his first Flux Sports Car Championship win. And he comes in here with 2 podiums and the points lead here in the Flux LMP2 Championship of the Sports Car Championship. So with these guys heading to Watkins Glen next week, they really need to put together, he really needs to put together a run. He can try to outduel the guys behind him in the points, and just Finland can build something. 15 points is not insurmountable. It's the point system in Flux. 35 points for a win, 1 point bonus paid for the pole position and the fastest race lap. It then goes down to 30 for second, 27 for third, 25, 23, 20, 17, so on and so forth. So 15 points by no means insurmountable. He could lose that lead here this week, but he's in a position where he can race for the podium and try to manage, depending on what his car has. But he's got some pace here, 1:15.9. He's been quick. Currently sitting third on the board. And we'll be looking to see what he can put together. Pull up my driver stats for the season. Those 2, just Piddle and Mark Webber, the only guys with multiple podiums so far through the first 3 rounds. So it's touch and go sometimes for these guys here in these cars. They're a little more durable than an open wheel, a Formula One or an Indy car, but prototypes are not GTE cars. You don't want to bang around with them too much, and that could definitely cause some issues. We've got to believe the number 44, Mark C, might have something here at the end. I believe he's going to have 1 more lap after this, or not Mark C, Mark Webber. But Webber, as we said, 2 wins on the season in the first 2 rounds, but after missing Long Beach, can he make it 3 for 3? Right now, he's sitting 4th on the speed chart here in qualifying, but he's going to have this lap and 1 more coming off of that corner. and he's got one more shot. We'll check in with him. Let's take a look at some of the other guys farther towards the end here. McToastie's final lap, or he's going to have one more maybe if he wants it. Dirt Rally just 6/1,000ths, and he goes over, he passes him. Dirt Rally Pro down to a 1:15.0, and McToastie on his final lap has one last shot to take it back. Let's see where Mark Webber's still back there, just piddling. He just passed the line. He doesn't get a chance to improve it. Mark Webber's going to be the one we're watching, along with McToastie behind him. But let's take a look at Mark Webber. Dirt Rally Pro putting up that blistering 1:15.0 right on the last lap, and he's going to see if he can steal that pole position and that bonus point. But let's see what two-time winner Mark Webber has as he heads through the final little chicane here and on to the front stretch. A little farther down than he'd expect to be, but let's see what he's got. Webber comes off that final corner, moves up to 1:15.3. He moves up into second. Now it's to see what McToastie's got. Last guy with a shot. And it doesn't look like he does it. All right, folks, so your starting order for the Season 5 Flux Motorsport Sports Car Championships, the LMP2 class, Round 4 here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway as follows, with what I believe is his first career pole in the Flux Sports Car Championships. Dirt Rally Pro piloting that thing right at the end, a 1:15.0. Great job. He will start leading the field here at the Brickyard. Mark Webber pulls off a hot lap at the end. He comes up with a second place qualifying run. McToastie, last week's winner at Long Beach, will start third in the Storp Hill prototype. Just piddling, your points leader falls back to fourth towards the end of qualifying. Little bit of a gap forming as Ty Joe back in fifth in the all-black prototype. Muttley will be back in sixth place as he got by Cat Guy, who will start seventh, and Cracked Piston, the eighth and final car in the field here for round 4 of the Flux Sports Car Championships Season 5 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We had a great GTE race earlier, and I think 6 of these 8 drivers were in that race earlier. Only Mark Webber and Cracked Piston were not. So these guys are going to do a formation lap. It is going to be a single file start for safety reasons here. Rolling starts on the American circuits, US style. And what a lap there at the end. Cleared the field by 0.3 of a second, did Dirt Rally Pro, and it looks like we lost a car. Looks like we lost Cracked Piston right before the start of the race. I don't know if that was a retirement or perhaps mechanical trouble, but from our 8 qualifiers, we are just going to have 7 take the green flag. So a lot of no-shows here this week out of the normal 12, 13, 14 car fields for these races. So a very big opportunity to pick up a leg in the points and to get career best finishes for some guys. But despite the size of the field, we have got some hot competition between them. Dirt Rally Pro with that first career pole. The question is, can he stay up there? He's got Mark Webber directly behind him. And it looks like we must be having some type of issue here. 2 cars out just like that. And I'm wondering if we're having some type of mechanical problem. Some type of weather issue perhaps at the track. Waiting to hear from the officials. And it looks like they're going to be rolling, and we may have lost 2 cars right there at the start in what is already a small field for this race. I don't know if that was mechanical gremlins for Cracked Piston and Ty Joe, but whatever it was, that is going to cost Ty Joe quite a bit in the point standings. He came in 5th in the championship. Cracked Piston was 8th, so they're both going to take their lumps here. So it looks like we've got just 6 prototypes rolling out here in the LMP2 race. and that ought to make this a very interesting competition. Traffic's not going to be a problem. It's going to be mostly about battling head-to-head and raw speed as they work their way around. So very unfortunate. Perhaps we can get Ty Joe in the booth and can tell us what went wrong with the car, or if there was something mechanical before the race. But nonetheless, these 6 guys are going to have a chance to pick up some serious ground in the points championship. As you see them warming up their tires here on the single file parade lap. Going to be taking the green at the lights. Dirt Rally Pro with that first career pole, as we mentioned. Mark Webber with 2 wins on the season right behind him. McToasty, last week's winner, right behind him. And we'll see what these guys can do here at the world famous Brickyard. Mind you, tune in to Flux TV, 8 p.m. Australian time. That's going to be about 7 hours from now when the Flux V8 Supercars Championship will be in action at Fuji Speedway for round 4 of their race, and we hope to catch you there for that one. All right, these guys coming around through the final technical section onto the front speedway. 6 LMP2s in the Flux Sports Car Championships, and we are ready for the green flag. All right, we've got the green, and they are off. Looks like Cat Guy pulls out from the rear looking to make a move. Muttley also. McToasty trying to get inside of Mark Webber, and I think he might have done it. I think a couple of cars might have done it. Nope. But on the switchback, Mark gets him. And it looks like we do have Ty Joe joining us in the party.
Hello there, Colin. Hopefully I can be heard in the stream.
Turn your mic up a little bit and make sure that you have your, check the party settings and make sure you're sharing your mic so that it'll come through the broadcast. Just click on the party settings, make sure your mic's being shared. That way we know that the viewers can hear you. But here to the inside comes Mark Webber, who fell back a little bit. He's back to 4th from 2nd place. Trying to get the grip on that car. I'm going to go ahead and get on our chase cam here. Back of the field with Muttley. He's got Just Piddlin. Just Piddlin fell all the way back here from 4th back to 5th. But good to have Ty Joe in the booth. As soon as he gets his mic situation set up, we'll get a word from him.
Yeah, it looks as though Dirt Rally is pulled away from the pack 9. McToasty trying to keep him sensible, but Cat Guy, Mark, and Just Piddlin all forming a pack 3 cars in the pack down in the back. Muttley down in 6th trying to catch up to them. Seems that Dirt Rally is pulled away in the first lap already.
Yeah, look, showing him with a 20-second penalty. That's usually some kind of start penalty. I'm willing to bet that that's going to be scratched off. The marshals will probably overrule that at the end of the race, since that would have come before the green flag. Don't take that as gospel from me, folks, but not gospel, but I believe that you can probably ignore that 20 seconds. Probably came before the start. But Ty Joe, I guess, while these guys are heating up the battle, as Mark Webber and Cat Guy,
Just
Webber getting to the inside, and he's going to the inside. Just to ask you, what happened with your Ligier here tonight?
Well, fortunate circumstances. There was nothing showing up on my screen, just the pause menu, and yeah, I'll send screenshots later. But that was a DNF for me already at the start.
Yeah, sounds like some kind of electrical issue in the that $15,000-$20,000 Cosworth wheel that these Ligiers have. Unfortunately for Ty Joe, 5th in the points coming in. He's going to take a hit, but we're glad to have him in the booth. Meanwhile, we're looking here on the track as Cat Guy, Mark Webber, and Just Piddlin are battling. I'm going to get on board in the cockpit of the Ligier with Just Piddlin in 5th place as he's behind the 2-time winner. Pulling right up on Just Piddlin, or right up on Mark right there. That's 3, 4, and 5 right on top of each other. But you were right. As here goes Piddlin on the inside, trying to make the move. I don't know that he's got it on the switchback.
Yeah, he's got to cut the track here. There you go.
No, there he goes. He made it. You're clean over the curb like that. As long as you put 2 wheels over, you're good. And it looks like he did, and he made the pass. And so Mark Webber, after qualifying second on the grid, and with 2 wins on the season, looking to pull it back together. He's falling back into the clutches now of just Piddling in 5th place. But back up front, Dirt Rally has pulled out.
Yeah, it's his race to lose now. 3 seconds. He's gonna pull that gap away now because he knows the pace he's got at this point of the race.
Got clean air. I expect to see him pull out, but like we said, we saw it a little bit in the GTE race. You got to let the life of the run play out. There might be some guys who, especially with these cars, as I said, high downforce, soft tire compounds, you're very likely going to see these cars change. Somebody who's running this quick early, they might fall right back into the clutches of the field later on. So it's really the back half of the race. We'll see who's got a car. But in the meantime, Dirt Rally Pro, McToasty, both they're running up in the 117s, while Cat Guy, Mark Webber, and the crew running back in the 119s. But we'll have to wait and see. Got to put some laps under you. Ty Joe, you know that better than anybody. You got to put some laps under you to see what the car is going to do, how the balance is going to change.
Most importantly, testing the grip of the road, testing the grip of the car, see where it can brake early, see where it can't, because the track evolves over time as it gets rubbered in, and most of the time we'll be noting the tire wear. You got to note if the car is going to oversteer or understeer as the tires wear out. But yeah, cars, the way you drive these cars is very aggressive when you're trying to push them to the limit, because it wants to slide, it wants to, and it's hard to race in these cars because they're just meant for endurance, very long races.
Oh yeah,
long enough.
And you made a great point. I always say one of the best features that SMS and Project Cars 2 has is the Live Track 2.0. They're there whether you have high def or not and can see them, but if you have high def, you can see the marbles. Yeah, there he goes. Mark Webber makes the move. Yeah, makes the move. Good job by Mark. He's up to 3rd now. But like I was saying, you can see the marbles forming, and especially on a track like this that's so abrasive on the tires, you're going to see them offline. Right there, you can see them to the left as the cars come through the chicane. And those marbles make it. We saw it in the first race. Ty Joe, we saw it from where you were sitting in the back of that group in the first race. You try to get offline to make the move, and you get into those marbles, and it's like hitting a patch of ice. That's why they call them marbles. It's like hitting a bunch of stones. And it makes it really hard to pass on a place like this because you have to get onto that dirty track to make a move. But right here, Mark pulling out in front. Just Piddling makes the move on Cat Guy here on lap 5, puts him back to 5th.
Cat Guy trying to cut back into just Piddling, but seeing the pace that these guys are done in qualifying, I don't know if that guy can keep up, but just Piddling will certainly try to catch up, back up to Mark Webber now. And Toasty is trying to, little by little, pull off a little bit of a deficit to Ali, who's trying to get away up in front.
Yeah, managing about 2 seconds. He was a second faster that last time, and I'd not be the least bit surprised if McToasty's doing what we saw him do last week, what we saw him do in the GTE race earlier, and that's just kind of waiting to see, where the car goes, how the race looks. Dane Wilden checking in with us again. Good to see you, brother, back. Love to see you at the track sometime. But yeah, McToasty's a patient driver. I was going to say the same thing about Cat Guy back there. Cat Guy knows at this point in the race you don't want to fight for position. He'll fall in and let the race come to him and see where it goes. You saw that in the first race. He was very conservative early on, and then the later it gets, the sharper his elbows will become. But right now, I think he realizes doesn't have great pace in the car, so he might just have to be trying to keep it underneath him and letting other guys have trouble. And as we said, with such a small starting field, all you got to do is keep the car on the track, and you can get a top 5 finish and a decent amount of points.
Yeah, that is true, and it seems as though some of the people on the grid didn't have much practice, and as of I've just reused the setup that I did from the European tour. But driving styles varied very differently through here, and yeah,
It's a different
ride
track
these
from
cars unlimited.
yeah, it's a different track from some of the European tracks. You know, we have plans we're hoping to talk about sometime in the future of that will get these cars all over the place and really, you know, a prototype and a GT class. That's the cornerstone of sports car racing. We saw a great GT race earlier. Ty Joe was one of the guys who put on that show for us. He's won a few times, 3 times in those cars, and here in the P2s that, you know, ran in Europe before, running in America this season. We hope to have them running everywhere soon. I can almost bet, I'm not at liberty to discuss the plans at the moment, but I can almost bet get to Flux Season 6 and you're going to see full fields here in the LMP2 class as well with what we got planned or what we're hoping to work on. And these cars they're fun to race. I did the majority of I was always primarily a IndyCar, NASCAR driver. Most of my sports car racing was in prototypes. The one championship I won was in a Peugeot 908, and that was it was a chrome Peugeot. The other guys hated my car because when we raced at night and their lights hit my car, it blinded them. I actually took the lead in the championship that season, right here at this track. It was the earlier version of the layout, but it was this track at the Brickyard. And in that race, I was thinking about it earlier, going through my notes. And in that race, I came out. I did not have a car that was on pace with the top guys. I was maybe a 1.2, 1.3 seconds off in qualifying. So I was 5th or 6th place on the grid. And we got into the race, and it was a long enough race where there was 3 stints, so you had to make 2 pit stops. And we would get about halfway through a tire run or fuel run, and I would start eating guys up because I had set the car up to go long distance, and I even had it set up to where I could double stint the tires one time. So one of my stops, I didn't have to make a tire change, and that was the win in that race. Got me the points lead and led me to the championship, and it was right here. These prototype cars at this place, you've got to set them up for that lack of grip that you talked about, Ty Joe. You've got to set it up for the downforce is going to eat the tires. You know, sliding around in the GTEs, the weight of those cars and the fact that you're sliding around, that causes tire wear for a whole different reason than these do. These do because they're putting 3.5, 4 G loads in the corners on what is already a pretty soft compound tire. And it looks like McToasty has come right back up.
Yeah, he's
on
on
Dirt
his
Rally
tail
Pro.
less to the second.
Picked up
at
the
the same
pace.
time, I saw him his throttle pace, his throttle trace at turn 1. He was lifting and coasting, so he's got his fuel saving in mind right now. He's got 56 liters to manage towards the end of the race.
Yeah, you got to keep in mind too. These guys, they can adjust the fuel mixture. You might see some guys lean it out if they need to. They think they need to make it on fuel. Managing the tires is really. I think you have enough fuel to make it just fine, running as flat out as you want. But
Toasty going half throttle there in the entry.
That was something I talked about in the first broadcast, and that is Ty Joe in the booth with us. He had a mechanical trouble before the start of the race. We got people checking in with us. But that was something I was talking about in the GT race, Ty Joe, and we'll get in his cockpit here. It's a little bit of racecraft I learned racing growing up. When you're chasing somebody, as we're watching McToasty do now, the way that you have to adjust your line in order to race close to somebody like this. I have met lots and lots of sim racers over the years who can fill up the time charts in the community events and the time trials, but when you get near them on a racetrack, they can't handle this. I've seen guys crumble under the pressure. And what McToasty's doing here is it's not going to do him any good to be right up on Dirt Rally going into the corner, because if Dirt Rally's any slower than him in the corner, it's just going to bog down his run. So what he's doing is, as he's going to start catching them here on the straight, and if he doesn't have enough in the slipstream to get to him and make a move, you're going to see him lift.
Dirt Rally's doing more fuel saving. He's catching up, and Toasty's going to make a move on the inside.
Yeah, there he goes now. Takes away my whole point, and he might go make the move for the lead here on lap 11, and I believe he will. Oh, it's a switchback. It's a switchback.
There you go.
These are the switchback sections where we saw Cat Guy have success in the first race. It's who gets it
Looking
heading
at his,
into the corner.
it's gonna be side by side with Sosi. You have to cut the track, giving him space, but
Yeah, they
the
are
rally
side
is
by
also giving
side.
him space.
That was not the time for it. He had to move. But what I was saying, McToasty, you'll let off going into the corners, and it looks like he will make the pass.
There you go.
You let off going into the corners simply because you give yourself room to get off early, back on the throttle, so that as you're coming off the corner, where he's at on the track is not slowing you up. You're not getting bogged down by the guy in front of you. You're back full speed coming onto the straightaway, and it's a trick that keeps your lap times up, but also keeps you with him and gives you a chance. You're setting up a pass for the next corner, and McToasty did that a lot. But right there, he had the run and he made it. And let's see if he can pull away now. Got the win last week at Long Beach. But meanwhile, while these guys have been fighting, let's take a look back. Mark Webber has picked up the pace down on the 117s. McToasty and Dirt Rally ran in the 121, 122s fighting with each other. So while they were fighting, Mark and Just Piddlin got right back into this, where there's a bit of a gap, 14 seconds back to Cat Guy and Muttley having a little trouble in the number 12 car. He's about 27 seconds off the pace at the moment.
I think what Dirt Rally is doing here is trying to save more fuel than Toasty, because comparing the fuel tanks between these two, I think, yeah, it's about 0.5 liter difference between the two. I don't know if Dirt Rally's made a right decision to try to fuel save at the end, or Toasty knows that if he can manage the fuel like he does right now, which he's doing less than Dirt Rally, because I think he's managing it a bit too much, let's say, because knowing the pace he's going or knowing the pace he could do, I think he's slowing down too much.
He's falling back, and they're running in the 122s now, and so I'm pretty sure what we're looking at. First of all, we just passed the 15-minute mark, 30 minutes to go, and working lap 12. That tells me we're going to hit about 36 laps. 35, probably 36 laps on the board for this race. If they run in the 120s again after a clean lap like that, 118, 119, I think you're right, Ty Joe. I think that they were full rich on the fuel for the start of the race and tried to get some track position with it, and then I think they dialed it back.
Mark Webber and Just Piddlin is catching up to both of them, actually.
They've caught him, and if I was in Mark Webber and Just Piddlin's shoes, I'd be thinking to myself, why are we running 2 seconds quicker than them now? Do they know something we don't about whether or not the fuel is going to make it 45 minutes here at the Brickyard? This is a place that has 2 really long straightaways that you come out of a chicane basically to get to. So that means a lot of throttle time, a lot of fuel usage. And if these guys are using, say, 3 liters a lap, they're not going to have enough to go the distance unless they lean it back. So we have a whole lot of possibilities here. Our guy's going to have to pit. Will they take tires if they pit? Will taking tires give you an advantage on people who don't when they pit? Can you make that time up and around goes Dirt Rally? Right there, he goes around.
This race entirely. Unless if those two make a mistake in front of him, Mark Webber's also gone off and Just Piddlin goes around the outside to try to take advantage of that mistake, and Just Piddlin is through into second place, trying to catch up into McToasty now is also saving fuel at the moment.
Yeah, it looks like Dirt Rally lost. He did not hit anything, so I don't think his race is by any means. He's still in this, only 10 seconds back, but definitely not what he wanted to see.
Dirt Rally is still saving fuel, but keep an eye on that timer, and if that timer goes down to 22 minutes, which is halfway distance, and that fuel goes to 35 liters, then you know you can probably make it to the end or save a bit more fuel just to be sure.
Yeah, we'll see. That's definitely going to be the thing, but he's definitely back that car down quite a bit. That loop right there, he's still got the car under him, but let's see if he can pull it back. He got that pole, now running in fourth. Doesn't have any pressure from behind. Let's see if he can pull it back together. Meanwhile, McToasty back up front. He's got 5 seconds on the group. Running back in the 117s, I'm wondering if they're leaning it out, riching it back up, leaning it out. That's what it seems like they're doing, Ty Joe. You've run in these cars. Is that what you guys do during the race to make the time here?
Yes, we do, and we just sort of we pull up the pit strategy and see in our fuel, see if we have to add any fuel to our pit stops, and that'll let us know if we're gonna make it to the end of the race.
And then you got to make the decision as to whether or not that's going to work. I know a couple seasons ago in the Flux Stock Car Championship, which we're hoping will be returning as NASCAR pretty soon, I ran 2 of the road races like that at Willow Springs and Watkins Glen. I leaned out the fuel, gave myself up to being slower than the other cars, just so I wouldn't have to make an extra pit stop. And in those races, it did not work. I wound up still the math didn't work out, and it didn't work out. So it's not always that leaning it out is going to work. It might be quicker to make a pit stop and run, make a splash of fuel and run hardcore, but we're not going to know until we get later in this race what these guys are going to do. They're getting close to halfway now.
The thing that makes a difference is the track humidity, the fuel safety. It's that works if you're trying to save fuel. The thing is, the technique that usually works is lifting and coasting, and really just early up a gear in the exit of the corners.
Yeah, running the car, letting the car bog a little bit, not getting right back on the gearing, of course. And that's one of the main techniques for doing it. As you saw, McToasty seemed to be doing it pretty well, although that could have been, like I said, setting up for the next corner. It works for both, really. It works for both things. And on board here now with Mark Webber in third, running right at pace with the leader, 7 seconds back. He's got just Piddling, the points leader, right in front of him. And he's recovered from not the start he wanted, got caught up in the traffic, but now he's come through them. And we'll see if he's got something, looking for his 3rd win on the season. And he's running in the 117s. He's running quick.
Yeah, he's driving these cars well. These cars are so nervous and hard to try to set up to make him forced to understeer. So if you don't turn in too much, then the car won't spin out at all, because it's so easy to lose the grip in these cars, especially on the soft compound tire.
Oh yeah, and if you put too much downforce on it, that can counteract the effect. It can wear the tires more. As I said, the extra downforce is extra G load on the tires. And
it's not just the downforce; it's the leveling up the dampers.
Of course, all the pressure you put on the wheels, basically.
Yes, because the tires are most of the contact of it is on the road. But then again, since most people are using the softs, you have to try to adjust the dampers, try to make them level out. This track is very high speed. It's not very technical, unlike in Long Beach, where you pretty much stiffen out everything. You just want to pretty much loosen all the dampers, but not too much, to the point where it's pretty much, ice skating in the mid-corner.
We talk about it here, American drivers, sports car drivers especially. You get some grief from drivers overseas that don't like running at places like this or Daytona or stuff like that. And we comment, of course, that, that's racing. The more the merrier.
Oh, it's perfect.
All the different kinds.
I like it.
Yeah, all the different kinds of tracks. But the trick to running it, and it's obviously very different at Daytona than it is from here, but it's because of the transitions, because of the fact that it's a transition from an oval to an infield. You have very dirty and off-camber flat corners in an infield on a speedway. First of all, they tend to collect dust, and that makes the track very slick. But at the same time, it's learning to set up the car for it. You need to be able to get enough top speed to make these straightaways worthwhile, but if you go too far in that direction, your tires are going to fall off in the infield. And believe me, that was what I did to outlast guys here when I won at this track years ago. It was realizing that I could give up 2 miles per hour on the straightaway so that I had enough downforce to avoid sliding the car all over the place in the infield and eating up the tires. And we're past that halfway point that you talked about.
Checking these guys' fuels, it's 39 liters for McToasty, 37 for Just Piddling, 36 for Mark Webber. He's going to have to manage it just to make sure he gets it to the end, because he's pushing right now.
You also have different amounts of fuel burn depending on where you're at in the race. I've seen that 50-50 number racing before on this software even not quite measure up. Like you use a little more in the first half or a little more in the in the second half. I don't know why that is exactly. A lot of it may be the game trying to simulate fuel pickup, but I've seen it happen in the stock cars to me before. But at the moment, McToasty now 21 and a half minutes. We're just past halfway. We're expecting to see.
Been catching him though.
He is catching up.
Done a 16.7 compared to McToasty's 17.0.
Yeah, he's getting us better of him right now. Working 19 of what we expect to be lap 36, and as we said, the question is fuel and the question is tires at the moment. Who's got what?
Just Pillin's just reached the 35-liter mark. McToasty's managing 2 liters more than Just Piddling, but these guys are just managing so well. These guys are so fast and very hard to control these cars on the limit or really at all. Even when you're trying to drive slowly, because it wants to spin you out at the worst opportunity. It
wants to step out. It's the type of car that it's like driving an Indy car. I used to tell my team drivers, it's the type of car where you have to push it to get it to go fast. It doesn't go quick when it feels comfortable. You have to get it a little bit on the edge to make it go fast, but it's high downforce cars. The biggest difference in driving them between driving a GTE or a stock car or something, touring car or something with a little more body, is that in these, I once heard, I want to attribute this to Dan Gurney, but I'm not exactly sure what legendary racer said it, but they had said that the difference between a high downforce car and a low downforce car is that in a low downforce car, you feel the edge. You drive the car, you feel it start to step, and you ride that edge. You're like a tightrope walker between two buildings. You're looking at that rope and you're putting one foot in front of the other. Whereas in a high downforce car, you don't feel the edge. That you have to imagine where that edge is, because the edge is so narrow. It's like doing that same tightrope in the dark.
Yes, exactly.
When you hit that, the only way you feel the edge in a car like this is once you're already spinning around, like what we saw Dirt Rally Pro do. He found that edge before he could react to it. He was in a circle.
You can barely feel the grip of the tires touching the road. Unlike in Indy cars, you can run a low downforce car, whatever you want, but you can feel the car understeer when you turn in, and you can feel like that's the grip that I have right now. In these cars, you can barely feel it at all. It's just on the edge. It's on its toes basically all the time, and these guys are managing it very well.
The extra weight can cause you quite a bit of trouble. Little bit. It's like I say to guys, I used to get we had developed.
Toasty seems to make a mistake. Just Piddling's a second behind him now.
Yeah, he's right on his tail now. That was a 2-second loss there, and I gotta think that the grip is starting to go away.
Not just that, we're still halfway through, but these guys know that they can make it to the end of the race, but they just have to manage it all the way to the end, because the way these tracks flows, there's a 90 left coming up right now, and if you clip that curb, the car will rebound and bounce around. Most notably the back end will step out first, and that'll end you in the spin. Yeah, I don't think being overly aggressive pays off here. Like I told guys when we'll be racing in a couple weeks at Road America. I told them on the broadcast last season, I used to tell drivers all the time, being overly aggressive at Road America doesn't pay off, because if you clip a curve, you're going to lose a second and a half. You just got to run smooth and conservative, and you'll get faster and faster the more you hit that perfect line. And this place is kind of like that. It's a rhythm track, and if you fall out of rhythm, and McToasty fell out of rhythm just briefly there, he only lost a couple seconds, but that was enough to put just Piddling right back on top of him. Looks like the lead now.
The other color commentator is quite unhappy over here. Really pissed off about something. I don't think she's happy about the lack of wrecks. She likes to see the safety crew out there. She likes to see drivers being hauled out by the ambulance, that kind of thing. And she saw plenty of that last night in the IndyCar race, but not quite as much here tonight in the sports cars.
The IndyCar race is a disaster, let me tell you that.
Well, I mean, 5 cautions is a little high, no doubt.
Too much, but anyway, Tosi's responded to that. Seems to pull up a 3/10 gap now, but just fiddling on the braking there. Pulled up less than a second now again.
Looks like they're
And Toasty's
separating it out as we're getting down. 15 minutes to go here pretty soon.
at 30 liters left to go from Toasty. He's gonna push it all the way to the end, but by how much? It's very dangerous in these cars. Unlike in GTEs, you can feel the grip, like the grip that you have, and you can use it all the way to the end of the race. But in this, you know, just play it with it too much, then that's your race over for you.
Well, that also plays into your mind if you're in the position like Just Piddlin or Mark Webber back there. You know the car is only getting worse. If you're going to make a move, you might make it earlier than you would, say, in the GTE race, because if I'm going to make a move, I need to make it now, because in 10 minutes, I'm not going to have anything but cords on this tires.
These guys are running 117s faster than I did in quali, but these guys are managing it well.
Yeah, that's a hot setup that hits 115 in qualifying, or by hot setup, I mean closing stuff off and really soft tires and blazing. I expected to see 116, 117 race pace, and as the fuel burns off, they're getting back up to that, but I think they're in that pocket as we're about to hit 15 minutes to go, and we have what I think is 13 laps remaining, that they're like, we got to go now. Just Piddlin got his first career Flux sports car win earlier tonight right there at the Brickyard in the GTE race, and 1-2 in the same night. It's possible.
These two are exactly in the same position as they were just an hour ago. A bit of oversteer moment there for Just Piddlin. He's caught it. Still less than a second behind.
That's a very good point, Ty Joe. These two were racing just like this in the GTE race earlier, so no surprise to see that. Just shows the versatility and why we offer so many different, the whole spectrum of motorsports in Flux Motorsport. These guys showing that they can drive in anything. They go straight from a high-powered, heavy GTE car to a purpose-built sports car prototype and be right back where they were, running the same lap times, nose to tail, racing for a win. Just, hour later on the track. It speaks volumes about the versatility of the Flux drivers. That includes you here in the booth. You're another one who does it regularly.
Yeah, I try.
Mark Webber's back there, 6.4. He's steadily made a little bit of ground up on these guys from where he was, but I think he also got the message when he got within 3 seconds or so that he was going to have to manage this car to get to the finish. And with 2 wins to start the season and being second in the points coming in, wanted to finish ahead of Just Piddlin for sure to try to gain some ground on the points leader, but he's had a great coming out this season, winning the first 2 races, didn't make the round last week at Long Beach, and there's still a long way to go, still 4 rounds left in the championship, just halfway home.
Everyone's bogging down here because not many people practice too much for this championship. Maybe next season people will start to take it more seriously.
I think we've had great racing on the track. Sometimes there's a little bog in getting the technical information from the factory through the field, but yeah, I do believe that we'll see more in the future here. Nonetheless, these guys are racing hard.
Closing up now, 2 tenths behind. Let's see if we from the exit of this corner. There's a long straight after this. See if we can try to tuck it in inside the slipstream and make the move on the inside of the turn 1.
He might have the shot here coming onto the straightaway. He's right in McToasty's wake, but I don't know that he's got enough. He's not going to make it this time, but he's setting up for it.
Oh, nearly goes in the back of him because braking while under someone's slipstream often causes
your front end will oscillate. Yeah, you'll get a wiggle in the front end. You got no downforce on the going onto the valence of the front of the car under braking, and it causes the front to bounce. I used to have that happen in that even happens in go-karts, believe it or not. If you don't have the front end set up correctly, but in these it's the lack of downforce, like you said, and you just got to stay where he is. And these guys did this earlier tonight. It's where you're going to make the move, and Just Piddlin was able to pull away a little once he got in the lead earlier on. in the GTEs, but right now he's got you got to. I honestly think you don't got but maybe one shot at it, because if you make the move and it doesn't stick, you're going to fall back a couple seconds and have to.
All he can do is keep up the pressure. Ooh, he's trying down the inside, trying to keep up the pressure, trying to force Matosti into a bad exit out of that corner, but it seems like Matosti's got it covered.
He does right now, looking on board here with just Piddling. They're maintaining that gap back to Mark Webber, meanwhile.
What if I do a track walk after this lap if the gap isn't too wide?
Yeah, no problem. I'll put you on board here next time by.
Alright.
We'll put you on board with just Piddling next time by, but we'll follow the battle. They've maintained an 8 seconds on Mark. Dirt Rally's in a little bit of danger from Cat Guy. Cat Guy's now in the 117s. What did I tell you about Cat Guy? May not have the setup in the car, but you give him time to run it, and especially if he probably went conservative with it just to make sure he could keep it under him. But now tires are coming, so now he just has to adjust. He has to go, okay, I got as quick as the rest of the field with 15 minutes to go. I got to adjust it so that that's a little sooner, but really not a bad run. He's running right on pace with them now. All right. They're getting ready to come around. As they come off the last corner, we will get into the cockpit of just Piddling and let our reigning Flux Season 4 IndyCar champion, Taijo, give you a track walk.
Alright, coming out the exit of this long flat right, trying to keep inside as much as possible, just Piddling with the dirty air. It washes him a little bit wide, but coming into this very long front stretch into the oval and breaking 400 yards, 400 meter board, there you go. Second gear, try not to clip the inside curve too much. Now switch to the left, try not to rear-end it, the rear end slide out, and flat right here. It opens and tightens into to another tight right and flat out chicane here. Careful not to clip that tall curve in the second apex too much. Then into this back straight, coming into this square left. Sorry, braking very very late here. Mind the tall curve in the left, and then just pulling this commentator.
That's why you mind it. Yeah, that's why you mind that curve.
So that's boggled his progress by a mile, 4 seconds. I wonder how he's gonna try to make that up, because Toasty is still pushing.
That might put him into the grips of Mark Webber, and being 1-2 in the championship, that might be more important than beating McToasty right now. He's having
a bit rusty there in the track walk, but that's alright.
No worries. Haven't had you in the booth with me before. We'll work it out. But yeah, right. He falls back 5 seconds, and it may be worrying about Mark Webber behind him more so than McToasty at this point. You want to keep gaining ground in the championship with the guy who's been winning this season, so he might be looking back now. He lost a good 5 seconds, and McToasty's all by himself here. But
he's all alone by himself as well. But,
yeah, he's still dealing, however, with the same worn-out car that everybody else has. So the same thing could happen to McToasty, and I'm sure he's sitting there minding his P's and Q's, so to speak. We'll get a run through the field. There's just Piddling now running 4.5 seconds back. Mark,
gained some time back.
He's gained some time back. He's up to 8.6 in arrears, but he's been kind of bouncing back and forth between there. And I think in Mark Webber's case here, got the 2 wins this season. He definitely would want to be up there with these guys, but he needs to focus on picking up some championship points, because he's right there in that chase. Dirt Rally Pro was our pole sitter. This day has not gone his way. I think that 20-second penalty will get scratched, since it was before the start of the race. More than likely it will, but he hasn't had the race he hoped.
I think the problem with how he managed his race is because he saved too much early on. Compared to McToasty, he was lifting and coasting only, but even right now, Dirt Rally's on. He slams the wall there, but he's set the fuel mix into lean. Is it so far? He's had it onto lean from this stage in the race, and even though he's got enough to make it to the end.
may not have enough speed, and that you're definitely right about that. I think that there's been a there's been a speed issue trying to make up for that lack of excuse me, for making up for the lack of fuel richness there. And you might be right, it might have just been a situation where he didn't time that out right, but he definitely had that last lap to take the pole was something else right at the end. Put 3/10 on the field.
But right, he pulled off a really good gap to Matosty in the start of the race, but I don't know, maybe he's starting to the car is starting to lose grip on the hands of the rally. But
there's quite a bit.
Reigning world champion in the dirt rally series.
Oh yeah, he won it last season, didn't he? Season 4.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, Dirt Rally Pro lived up to his name. I don't like to speculate on these things because sometimes my experience of being a race promoter is you mention stuff that you're talking about and guys take it as gospel and start spreading it through the field. But there has been a lot of talk among some of the drivers about, if not a difference in the race distance, then something that would force a pit stop in these sports car races, either a mandatory pit stop or a slightly elongated race, what have you, to bring in that strategy to where they don't have to lean it out. Now, I know as a race fan over here in the States, and when we were IndyCar fans, there was a whole era where every race, and there was a Formula One era for this too, for the international fans who have seen this, but we went through a whole era in IndyCar where it came down to fuel mileage in almost every race. It came down to, no one was, they did some kind of calculation at one point and realized that over a 3-year period, guys were running full rich only like 17% of the time or 21% of the time, as he goes by lap car there, Muttley. But, and, they didn't want that for the fans, so they eliminated the fuel restrictions and all that kind of stuff and made it so that the guys could run full burn. I'll get your opinion on that, Ty Joe. A situation where you had to make a pit stop so you could take a splash of fuel, and managing the fuel was out the window here. What would your thoughts be on that in a race like this?
I think the situation is, I think they tried it. The tire setting here is accelerated, meaning the tires wear out, at a very much fastest rate as the game can give it. And given the fuel flow of the cars, it seems that these guys have found a way to get it to the end right from the get-go. Maybe they can try to enforce a mandatory pit stop, but that can depend on how slow the guys can change the tires, because usually it's very slow. Compared to the Indy cars, compared to GTEs, it's very different speeds of pit stops.
Well, you have also the strategy on that would be, obviously, like in an Indy car where they change the tires simultaneously to fueling, you take tires as a matter of course, just because if you're taking fuel, you might as well take tires. Now in these, a mandatory pit stop wouldn't necessarily mean that you'd have to take tires. It would just mean that you would have to come into the pit lane. And if that's the case, if you're coming down the pit lane, you might as well, okay, full rich will get me 40 minutes, then I'm going to run full rich and go ahead and splash fuel when I need it, because I got to come down the pit lane anyway. I don't think you would see guys choose to make tire changes so much as it would force them to make a pit stop. And with a forced pit stop, there's no reason to lean out the fuel. If you have to come down pit lane, you might as well take whatever fuel you need to get to the finish. And that would be the idea. I think a number of guys have talked about it. Either way, it's sports car racing. The competition, you know what you're dealing with coming into the race.
These cars are meant for endurance, meant to run on their own in the wide open track for as long as 24 hours. But these guys are only running it for 45 minutes.
It's like the difference. If you're a fan of the sport, you know that endurance racing, the 12-hour and 24-hour racing is the cornerstone of the sport. But 90% of the championship events are run to about 2 hours, 2.5 hours. It's 2:45 over here in the States for most of the IMSA races. and sprinting is a part of it. I would like to see the guys going flat out to give my opinion. I would like to see the guys having to manage the strategy of a pit stop, having to manage when they're going to do this, when they're going to do that.
It is a very stressful car to drive on the limit on every lap. It's even in qualifying, it's already very stressful. You just don't know where you're losing time because you're already losing grip compared to the next lap where you aren't. So it's very stressful.
We've seen Cat Guy get by Dirt Rally, who's back in 5th. He just continues to fall.
Oh, I didn't notice that. I thought he was still catching him. And
yeah, I didn't notice. He's obviously having some problems coming from that pole position. We had 8 qualifiers, as we said. He's going to wind up falling back here to 5th, so not the day he was looking for. But it's really been all McToasty. He's going to cross the line here. This is going to be the final lap here at the Brickyard, I believe. And it's just been another great day for McToasty. Got his first career Flux Sports Car Championship win. Just to clarify for the...
Ollie? Oops. All right. On board with McToasty now in the front in the back stretch after that fast flowing chicane, braking hard for this 90-degree left-hander. Yeah, it's all right there. And McToasty in the final time, in the final lap of the 45 minutes in Indianapolis, is on his way to clinch his, I believe, second career win in LMP2s.
Yep, his second win in sports cars overall. When I say that, folks, I'm referring to any LMP or GT class car as a sports car. And last week was his first win in the sports cars. He's won in Indy and been competitive in a lot of cars, but it was his first win in the sports cars last week. And
Toasty running out in the final corner into the oval, and he's gonna win his second career win in the LMP2s. He's won in GTEs, Indy cars, and is now won in LMP2s. And just Pidlin, Badley coming up in second place with a good battle with Toasty there in the half stages of the race. Mark Webber now coming in third place, and Cat Guy snatching that 4th place away from Dirt Rally in the later stages of the race. Dirt Rally there, commiserations to Dirt Rally. He ran up and a good race from the start there. And Muttley not giving up to the under race, sticking around. 6th.
Man of the day though, McToasty. Yeah, man of the day is McToasty. Another duel that he wins. It's his second straight win in the series. As I said, his second win in the sports cars overall. And he's found his way in this car. So there are your final results. Season 5 Flux Motorsport Sports Car Championships, Round 4 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Your winner is McToasty with his second win on the season. Another masterful performance in the Ligier. Just Pidlin, your points leader, extends that points lead here at the halfway point of the season with his 3rd podium in 4 races. He comes home second. Mark Webber gets his 3rd podium in 4 races as he drives that car home to 3rd. Cat Guy, as you said, moved up from 6th in the field. He brings it home in 4th as he got by our pole sitter Dirt Rally Pro. Didn't have the race he was hoping to have, but brings it home in 5th place for a good points day. And Muttley rounds out our finishers in 6th. So before I do the sign off, Ty Joe, any final thoughts?
Yep, fastest lap goes to Just Pidlin with a 16.5 compared to McToasty's 16.58. So a bit close there, but Just Pidlin gets the extra point, and Dirt Rally does get the extra point for pole position. But great race from all of them, and smartly run by McToasty, managing his pace very, very well. No moments or mistakes at all, and yeah, another masterful drive.
Yeah, the other thing I think I'll point out, looking at those best laps, you got to say we talked about Cat Guy being off pace and qualifying. Got it up to 1:17.3. He was only 0.7 of a second behind him.
So yeah, great race yeah,
he was only 0.7 of a second behind him. He wound up with a real good run, but once again, it's McToasty doing what McToasty does, and I think this championship's we're going to have more drivers towards the back half of the season, and I think it's just heating up. Mark Webber's quick. Just Pidlin's leading the points. McToasty's now won 2 in a row. He's going to be right back in it. But
Mark Webber's missed the race, though. He's going to have trouble gaining all those points back up.
He's still close. He's only 18 back right now, so we'll see moving forward, but he's going to have to finish ahead of him. But I'm going to have to sign off here. Remind you to check us out at fluxmotorsport.com. It was a pleasure having you in the booth, Ty Joe, anytime.
My pleasure.
Love having the company. But once again, the winner here at the Brickyard, GTE winner was just Piddlin, the LMP2 winner, McToasty. So this is Carlin Hicks with Ty Joe signing off. Thanks for joining us.